In this video, we will learn 10 new words through short stories. It might seem like a small step, but in 100 days, you will easily learn 1,000 words, which is a big achievement. To help you learn better, please watch each video twice. At the end of the video, try to make your own sentences using the new words you've learned. Stay with us and let's explore today's new words.
The necklace and the negotiation. My name is Sarah, and I want to tell you a story about a necklace and how I learned to negotiate. Last summer, I visited a small market in Istanbul. It was full of colors, spices, and beautiful jewelry. One necklace caught my eye. It was golden, with a small blue gem in the middle. I wanted it so badly. But when I asked the shopkeeper for the price, he said, $100. That was too expensive for me. I decided to negotiate. I took a deep breath and smiled. Can you give me a better price? I asked. The shopkeeper shook his head. This is a good price, he said. But I didn't give up. I remembered something my mother told me. Negotiation is about finding a middle ground. So I said, what if I pay $70? That's all I can afford. The shopkeeper smiled a little but still said no. I started to walk away, but I heard him call out, Wait! Let's negotiate. I turned around and he said, How about $85? I thought about it. It was still high, but better than 100. I tried one more time. $80 and I will buy it now. The shopkeeper looked at me for a moment and then smiled. Deal, he said. That was my first real negotiation and I felt so proud. I learned that to negotiate you need to be calm, polite, and clear about what you want. The shopkeeper was happy because he sold the necklace and I was happy because I got it for a fair price. Now every time I see that necklace, I remember the power of negotiation. It's not just about money, it's about understanding each other and finding a solution. So next time you want something, remember my story and try to negotiate. Who knows what you might achieve?
The teacher who facilitated change. My name is Daniel, and I am a teacher. This is the story of how I learned the true meaning of the word facilitate. Last year, I had a student named Lena. She was shy, quiet, and afraid to speak in class. One day, I asked her, Why don't you participate? Lena looked down and whispered, I'm afraid of making mistakes. I wanted to help her. I knew my job as a teacher was not just to give knowledge, but to facilitate her learning. To facilitate means to make something easier, to create an environment where growth is possible. First, I changed the way we practice speaking. I started a game where students worked in pairs, and everyone got a chance to speak without feeling judged. This game helped facilitate conversations for Lena. Slowly, she began to speak more. Next, I asked the class to write down their fears about English on small pieces of paper. We read them together and laughed. Making mistakes is part of learning, I said. This activity was designed to facilitate confidence. But Lena still struggled. So, I gave her a special task, to teach the class a simple word in her own language. Teaching will facilitate your courage, I told her. She hesitated but finally agreed. The next day, she stood in front of the class and taught us how to say hello in her language. The class clapped and Lena smiled. By the end of the year, Lena was one of the most active students in my class. She said, "Thank you for helping me. You didn't force me, you facilitated my growth." Her words stayed with me. I realized that to facilitate is not to push or force, but to create the right space and tools for someone to succeed. So, if you want to help someone, remember, sometimes the best way is to facilitate their journey, not control it.
The hotel that learned to accommodate. My name is Elena, and I manage a small hotel by the sea. Let me tell you a story about how we learned the true meaning of accommodate. One summer, a famous musician named Leo booked a room at our hotel. Everyone was excited, but when Leo arrived, he looked unhappy. "This room doesn't work for me," he said. I was surprised. It was our best room with a big bed and a beautiful view. "What's wrong?" I asked. "I need a quiet space to practice my music," he explained. "This room is too close to the street." I had to think fast. My job was to accommodate his needs. To accommodate means to adjust, to make changes so someone feels comfortable. First, I showed him another room at the back of the hotel. It was quieter, but Leo said, "The light here isn't good for writing music." Next, I offered him the conference room, which was large and quiet. He liked it but said, "Where will I sleep?" Finally, I had an idea. We moved a bed into the conference room and brought him a lamp for better light. "Does this accommodate your needs?" I asked. Leo smiled. "This is perfect." Over the next week, we worked hard to accommodate Leo's schedule. We delivered meals to his room at odd hours and made sure no one disturbed him while he practiced. At the end of his stay, Leo said, "You didn't just give me a room. You truly accommodated me. Thank you." That day, I realized that accommodate isn't just about giving people what they ask for. It's about listening, understanding, and finding creative solutions to meet their needs. Now, every time a guest has a special request, I remember Leo and think, how can we accommodate them? It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. If you ever visit my hotel, I promise we'll do our best to accommodate you too.
The mountain we overcame. My name is Arya, and this is the story of how my brother, Liam, and I learned to overcome fear. Last year, we decided to climb a mountain near our village. It wasn't a big mountain, but for us it felt huge. Liam said, "Do you think we can overcome all the challenges?" I smiled nervously. "We'll never know unless we try." The first challenge came quickly. The path was steep and rocky. Liam slipped and fell. "I can't do this," he said. But I held his hand and said, "We'll overcome it together." Step by step, we moved forward. Then it started to rain. The rocks became slippery, and the cold wind chilled us. I wanted to turn back, but Liam said, "We can't stop now. We've overcome so much already." His words gave me strength. Halfway up the mountain, we faced the biggest challenge, a narrow bridge over a deep river. I froze. "I'm too scared to cross," I said. Liam looked at me and said, "Fear is in your mind. You can overcome it. Just take one step at a time." I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and walked. Step by step, I overcame my fear. When I reached the other side, I laughed and cried at the same time. Finally, after hours of climbing, we reached the top. The view was breathtaking. Liam and I hugged and said, "We overcame every challenge together." That day, I learned something important. To overcome means to face your problems, your fears, and your doubts, and to beat them. It's not always easy, but when you overcome something, you feel stronger and braver. Now, whenever I face a challenge, I remember that mountain and say to myself, if I could overcome that, I can overcome anything. What about you? What will you overcome today?
The day I learned to prioritize. My name is Mia, and I used to be terrible at time management. This is the story of how I learned to prioritize what truly matters. One Monday morning, my boss, Mr. Carter, called me into his office. "Mia, you're smart, but you need to learn how to prioritize your tasks. You're working hard, but not on the right things." I was confused. "What do you mean?" I asked. He smiled. "Imagine you have 5 things to do. Which one is most important? If you don't prioritize, you'll waste time on the wrong task." That day, I had a long to-do list. Prepare a presentation, answer emails, organize files, attend a meeting, and buy a gift for my friend's birthday. I started with the easiest task, organizing files, but halfway through I realized I didn't have enough time for the presentation. I rushed to finish it, but it wasn't my best work. In the meeting, my boss looked disappointed. "Mia, if you had prioritized the presentation first, it would have been better," he said. That evening, I sat at my desk and thought about what went wrong. I realized that to prioritize means to decide what is most important and do it first. I made a plan for the next day. On Tuesday, I started my day by asking, "What is the most important task?" I worked on the presentation first, then attended the meeting. After that, I answered emails and organized files. I even had time to buy the gift for my friend. At the end of the day, Mr. Carter said, "Great work today, Mia. See what happens when you prioritize." I smiled, feeling proud. Now I always ask myself, what should I prioritize? This simple question has changed my life. So if you ever feel overwhelmed, remember, prioritize what matters most and everything else will follow.
The symbol that signified hope. My name is Aiden, and this is a story about a simple act that came to signify something much bigger. It was a cold winter morning in my small village. The streets were quiet and the sky was gray. Our village had faced many hardships, poor crops, broken homes, and people losing hope. But that day, something happened that changed everything. I was walking near the old church when I saw a group of people gathered around the bell tower. Curious, I asked, "What's going on?" An old man replied, "The bell hasn't rung in years. For us, it used to signify joy, unity, and hope. But now it's silent, just like our spirits." His words stayed with me. That evening, I sat by the fire and thought about what the bell used to signify. It wasn't just a sound. It was a message, a reminder that even in hard times we could stay united. The next morning, I went to the church. The bell was covered in dust and rust, but I decided to fix it. I worked all day cleaning, repairing, and polishing. People passed by asking, "Why bother?" I told them, this bell can still signify something important. It can remind us that hope is never lost. Finally, as the sun set, I pulled the rope. The bell rang loudly, its sound echoing through the village. People came out of their homes, surprised. Some smiled, some cried. "It's just a bell," one man said, "but it seems to signify a new beginning." From that day on, the bell rang every evening to signify the end of the day and the start of hope for tomorrow. It reminded us that even small things can signify big ideas, unity, resilience, and the strength to move forward. What about you? What does hope signify in your life? Accelerating to success. My name is Daniel, and I used to dream of becoming a race car driver. But in my small town, dreams like that felt impossible until one unforgettable day. It started when Mr. Blake, an old mechanic, noticed me watching the cars in his garage. He smiled and said, "Do you know what makes a car win a race?" I thought for a moment. "Speed." He nodded. "Yes, but it's more than speed. It's knowing when to accelerate. You need the right moment to push forward." The word stuck with me, accelerate. To move faster, to push harder, to reach your goal. But how could I accelerate my dream? One afternoon, I heard about a local race. It was open to anyone, even beginners like me. I rushed to Mr. Blake. "Can I join the race?" I asked. He grinned. "If you're ready to learn how to accelerate at the right time, then yes." For weeks we prepared. He taught me how to control the car, when to slow down, and most importantly, when to accelerate. "It's not just about speed, Daniel," he said. "It's about timing. If you accelerate too soon, you'll lose control. If you wait too long, you'll miss your chance." Race day arrived. My heart pounded as I sat in the car. The signal went green, and we were off. The other cars were faster, but I remembered Mr. Blake's advice. As we approached the final lap, I saw my chance. I pressed the pedal and began to accelerate. The wind roared, and the world blurred around me. Slowly, I passed one car, then another. On the last turn, I accelerated again and crossed the finish line. I didn't win, but I finished third. For me, it felt like first place. That day, I learned that to accelerate isn't just about speed, it's about moving forward at the right time, in the right way, to reach your dreams. What about you? How will you accelerate toward your goals?
Breaking through what hinders you. My name is Lily, and I never thought I'd climb Mount Ridge. The mountain had always seemed impossible. But more than the mountain, it was my fear that would hinder me. One summer, my friends planned a hike to the top. "Come with us, Lily," they said. I shook my head. "I can't. My fear of heights will hinder me. I'll slow you down." But my best friend Emma wouldn't give up. "Lily, fear only hinders us if we let it. You're stronger than you think." Her words stayed with me. The next day, I decided to try. With Emma by my side, we began the climb. First, the path was easy, but soon large rocks and steep slopes began to hinder my steps. "I can't do this," I said. Emma pointed ahead. "See that flat rock? Focus on reaching it. Don't let fear hinder you." Step by step, I pushed forward. ignoring the things that tried to hinder my progress, the loose stones, the sharp wind, and my shaking legs. Halfway up, we reached a narrow ledge. My heart raced. "This will definitely hinder me," I whispered. Emma smiled. "Close your eyes, breathe, and trust yourself. Don't let doubt hinder you." I took a deep breath and crossed the ledge, my fear slowly fading. Finally, after hours of climbing, we reached the top. The view was breathtaking, endless hills and a golden sunset. I felt a wave of pride. "See, Lily," Emma said. "The things that hinder us can be overcome if we keep moving forward." That day, I learned an important lesson. Obstacles can hinder you, but only if you let them. With courage and determination, you can break through anything that tries to hold you back. What about you? What's hindering you, and how will you overcome it? Learning to comprehend. My name is Anna, and I still remember the first time I tried to read a book in English. It was a simple story, but I couldn't fully comprehend it. The words felt like a puzzle, and I didn't know how to solve it. I sat in the library with the dictionary in one hand and the book in the other. Every time I read a sentence, I had to stop and look up a word. I whispered to myself, "How will I ever comprehend this story?" One day, Mr. Carter, the librarian, noticed my struggle. He smiled and sat beside me. "Anna, do you know what it means to comprehend?" I shook my head. "Not really." "Isn't it just about understanding?" "It's more than understanding," he said. "To comprehend means to grasp the full meaning of something. It's about seeing the big picture, not just the pieces." I nodded, but I still didn't know how to comprehend the story. Mr. Carter handed me a highlighter. "Here's a tip: highlight words you know, not just the ones you don't. When you focus on what you already comprehend, the rest becomes clearer." I tried his method. First, it was slow, but I began to notice patterns. I started to comprehend small parts of the story, a character's feelings, the main idea of a paragraph. Weeks passed, and I kept reading. Slowly, the pieces came together. One day, I finished the entire book without needing the dictionary. I looked up and smiled. "I finally comprehend it." Mr. Carter laughed. "See, Anna? Comprehension isn't magic. It's a skill. The more you practice, the more you'll comprehend not just words, but ideas, emotions, and even life. Now, when I read, I don't just understand the words. I truly comprehend the story. What about you? What will you try to comprehend today?
The power of collaboration. My name is Leo, and I never thought I'd work with others. I liked doing things alone. But one day everything changed. I was in school, and our teacher assigned a group project. "You will collaborate with your classmates to create a presentation," she said. I was nervous. I don't want to work with others, I thought. What if they don't do their part? When I met my group, I could see they felt the same way. We didn't know each other well, and no one seemed excited about the project. But our teacher reminded us, to collaborate means to work together. Each of you has different strengths, and you can help each other. I didn't understand. How can we work together? I wondered. Then Emma, a classmate, spoke up. "I'm good at designing slides. I can make our presentation look amazing. Tom, another student, added, I love doing research. I can find all the information we need. I thought for a moment. I'm good at speaking, I said. I can present our work. We realized that when we collaborate, we could achieve much more than we could alone. We shared ideas, helped each other, and worked hard. Everyone played their part, and soon the project came together perfectly. The day of the presentation arrived. We stood together, confident and proud of our work. We spoke clearly, showed beautiful slides, and answered questions as a team. In the end, we received the highest grade in the class. Afterward, I realized something important. Collaboration isn't just about sharing work. It's about using each person's unique strengths to create something better than what we could do alone. It's about supporting each other, trusting each other, and working toward a common goal. Now, I love to collaborate with others. It makes everything easier and more fun. What about you? How can you collaborate today to make something great?